Um, people are coming. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So basically, Anna will go into it in some more detail. They're just playing with the camera. But you have to decide, well, you don't have to decide. The process to go through is if you're retiring to Spain, do you need, oh, here's Belen. Hi, Belen. Belen? Hello? Hmm. Right. Anyway.
You have the camera.
Yeah, no camera for Belen. You'll just have to look at me for the whole thing. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Right. She's off. She's off and on. She's trying her best, but we haven't started officially yet, so it's not too bad. Yeah. So the process is retiring to Spain. First question you're going to have to ask yourself is, do I need a visa or not? And Anna, one of our specialist immigration lawyers, the other one is Ivan, will be telling you whether or not. Hi, Belen.
Hi, John. So today you're not going to see us as last time, but it doesn't matter because we have figured out how to do it for next time.
Oh, how do we do it?
It is in your account, John. So, well, in Just Law account.
What do I do? What do I press?
But we have to stop the live. So we can do it today without camera. Anyway, people see me every day, so they don't need to see Anna or me. But next time we have to change the settles in Just Law account to authorize us to have the camera.
It's funny that because I've gone live with other people and I haven't had to do it. But anyway, okay, right. So you can't see Belen. You've only got me. I'm not trying to be cool. These are glasses that sort of change color in the light. So I'm not wearing sunglasses for my live stream or anything like that. Everybody, right? Okay. So hi, Anna. Are you there?
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah. So Anna's the visa lawyer. Say hi, Anna.
Hello.
And Belen's the property lawyer.
Hi, John.
Right. And I'm pretty much sure that those are the 2 points that people are going to be considering when they retire to Spain. So I think the first question, Anna, I mean, hopefully it's quite a simple one. Who needs a visa to retire to Spain?
Well, you don't need to be retired to apply for this residency. I mean, you have to demonstrate that you have enough financial means, no criminal records, and that you're not working, that you can support yourself during 1 year.
Yeah. The thing is, retiring to Spain, you can retire at 18 if you want. You got the money, you can retire. So the people of the whole world quite simply fall into 2 categories, don't they, Anna? The people that need the visa and the people that don't.
Yes, basically.
Right. So who doesn't? Who is it like easier for?
Well, we have to separate between citizens of Spain that you don't need any type of visa. Then we go to the European Union citizens who need just a certificate that can allow you, let's say, in quotes, to reside in Spain. It's just a formality in most of the questions. And then the citizens of the third countries that, yes, need a stronger permit, which will be separate between non-lucrative, work permit, or digital nomad family members. So in that cases, we need, let's say, visa.
Yeah, so the people who want to retire to Spain, who are looking at their passport and it's not a passport issued in the European Union and they're not a Spanish citizen, they're not married to an EU citizen, they're not in a civil partnership with an EU citizen, all those people need what's called the non-lucrative visa. And as we said before, you can retire at any age.
Yes, just show that you have enough financial means and you do not work. And you do not need to work.
Absolutely. You've got to be able to support yourself. Spain isn't just going to let you in. Now, one of the things, and there's a big difference, and Anna and Belen and me and the big boss Marisa, we don't make the rules. But if you compare somebody from, say, Austria, and you compare somebody from America, or you compare somebody from Ireland and you compare somebody to the United Kingdom, it's a different amount of money, isn't it?
Yes, let's see. We have to complete with the specific visa requirements and the financial means. For example, if you are from non-European Union country, because each visa have its own requirements. And if we're speaking about the European Union citizens, let's see, demonstrating between, let's say, 8,000 to 10,000, if you only would like to go through the route of the financial means, it will be enough. Say it is acceptable, of course, in order to ensure that you pass. And because the national police stations, there are also people working, they can have questions, idea to show, let's say, that you can maintain yourself. Let's
Right.
say
So
that
if you've
more
got an
than
EU
enough.
passport, for example, Canada, France, Germany, Austria, Lithuania, well, it's about 8 to 10,000 you need to show in euros.
Oh, you say Canada, not
Sorry, Canada. Sorry, Latvia. Sorry, I'm trying to list European countries. I'm
European
trying.
Union country.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You just need to show
Ireland count.
8,000.
Yeah, it's 8 to 10,000 euros. Yeah, my apologies, people. But if you have, for example, a UK passport or a United States passport or a Canadian passport, how much do you have to show then?
If it's a non-lucrative, between, let's say, to be secure, between 30 to 34,000 euros for the first year. And I highly recommend you show also that you have some passive income, because some consulates like to see not only that you have it for first year to complete with these requirements, but also that you can maintain this situation for the future renewals.
Yeah, so that's it. You can be the same person. I mean, I could have a long lost Irish grandparent and get an Irish passport. And if I didn't have my Irish passport, I would need 3 times, three and a bit times as much money to move to Spain, even though I'm the same person. So we don't make the rules, but that's just how it is. Now, the other thing that people need to consider, and one of the big things that as we get older, I mean, I'm 56 and you get older, haven't started falling apart yet, but it's healthcare. Now, this is an English thing, British thing, so it's not really something for Anna. But if you're a British pensioner, you can get what's called the S1. You can get the S1 form. Now, the S1 form is like your passport to Spanish healthcare. Now, if you're not a British pensioner and you want to retire to Spain, for at least the first year, you're going to need private health insurance. Now, one of the things that we stress all the time is make sure you speak to Anna or Ivan or your own independent lawyer, whoever you want, make sure that policy is suitable for the non-lucrative visa, because some people, non-British pensioners who can't get the S1, will need to have private health insurance. And spoiler alert, even EU citizens need to have private health insurance. But in the second year, you can pay and join the Spanish public system, and everyone is accepted. Yeah. So the passive income, the certificate, right. So yeah, this is a question, Anna. Sorry, Belen, we'll have to get you to answer a question in a minute. Um, if you if you're an Italian, so you're an EU citizen, you only need the 8 to 10,000 to retire to Spain. Spoiler alert: you because you're an EU citizen, you don't have to retire. You can work if you want. But if you're an EU citizen, do you apply in Italy or do you apply in Spain?
In Spain.
In Spain. So
Let's
you
say we're in European Union, so with Italian passport you can came to Spain. I mean, with the wish to reside here, and during the first 3 months you will need the permanent address in Spain with the registration there, and then the application at the national police station. So you not only can, you have to do it from Spain.
Right. So there you go. So sorry, it's scrolled through and I didn't see the person that asked that. But yeah, EU citizen, you have to apply in Spain and you have to be all done by 90 days. And even an EU citizen is going to need private health insurance in the first year, and then in the second year you can pay and join the public system. So yeah, so that's basically it. You've got to have the financial means to get it. We're talking about retirement for EU citizens, but EU citizens, there isn't really a distinction. You come here, you can retire if you want, you can work if you want. But if you don't have an EU passport, you're not married to a Spanish person, or you're not a Spanish citizen, then you will need the non-lucrative visa. But under a non-lucrative visa, there's no working, is there? There's absolutely no working.
Exactly. You can't work not in Spain, not outside of Spain, anyhow, you in person, online, any. It
Right.
has to be only relied on to your financial means and passive income.
Right. Now, Belen, just so you get a kick of the ball, so to speak. Now, you don't have anyone can buy a property in Spain, can't there? There's no distinction between in the legal process if you're retiring or if you want a holiday home or if you're opening a bit. There's no distinction, is there?
Anyone can buy a property in Spain, yes. You can
Easy
even
answer.
get a
Easy answer.
mortgage. If you are retiring, you can even get a mortgage on the property
Right.
in Spain.
Yeah. Contact us. We work with a mortgage broker. I think we had one on the Move to Spain podcast. Yeah, we have a podcast. I don't know if people listen to that, but yeah, anybody can buy a property in Spain. But obviously, most people who are retiring, they're going to be looking at buying a property in Spain. So in England, we have something called stamp duty when we buy a property in Spain, which is like a bit of a government tax. It's the same all over the United Kingdom, and it varies on the price of the property. You know, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4%. It's not very much. Now, when you buy a property in Spain, I'm going to give the 100,000 example because it's just easier. But on the coast now, things aren't 100,000. Inland, you'll easily manage, but on the coast, things are getting, especially on the Costa del Sol. We cover all of Spain, but things are over 100,000. So if you're buying a property for 100,000, what additional costs have you got?
You said Costa Blanca or here in the Costa del Sol?
Well, let's say the Costa Blanca and the Costa del Sol. Because they're the two main ones, let's face it, aren't they? Everybody wants to be on the beach.
At the moment, if you buy a property in the Costa del Sol, you can add a 10% on top of the property price because a 7 is for transmission tax and another 3 are going to be expenses. If you're buying in the Costa Blanca, maybe a 13, but you know that since the end of June, transmission tax, which is the stamp duty, is going to pass from a 10 to a 9%. So maybe from the end of June, if you buy in Costa Blanca, it may be around more or less a 12%.
Yeah. So a bit of a top tip, really. If you're buying on the Costa Blanca, speak to Belen first, obviously, but we might be able to. I'm not saying we're going to delay it, but look after June.
We are already the clients that are finding properties in the Costa Blanca now. We are telling them just wait until the end of June because you will save a 1%.
As long as nobody else buys it.
Well, no, but we can state in the contract we are stating to complete by the end of June. So that way, if we complete the purchase, we sign the deed by the end of June, our clients are saving a 1%.
So just to recap, all over Spain, it's not like the UK. Every little bit of Spain has different property purchase equivalent of stamp duty. And for example, Andalusia, where you have the Costa del Sol, is 7%. Costa Blanca, where you have Alicante, people want to live in Alicante, things like that. It's 10%, but it's going to go down to 9%. What was the date that it goes down to 9%? Was it the end of June, 1st of July?
Yeah, I think it is the 19th of June.
19th of June, yeah. So what you can actually do, as Belen said, and we'll get onto contracts in a moment, you can actually write in the contract, I'm going to buy this house on the day it happens +1. And that means you will save 1%. So if you're buying a property for, I'm going to say 100,000 because my brain hurts at this time of night, you're going to save 1,000 euros. So it's better 1,000 euros in your pocket than the Hacienda. And Hacienda isn't a nightclub or anything like that. Hacienda is the Spanish tax authority. So we always joke, if you get a letter from the Hacienda, it's not a good thing. So basically, so if I just how is annual property tax in Spain calculated? Well, go on, but then there's one for you. How is
the annual property tax is calculated based on the value of the property. In Spain, we have 3 different values. We have the value that the tax office has settled, the value that you pay for the property in the market, which is normally the highest, and then the value that the town hall settles. So the value that the town hall settles is normally lower than the market price. in this kind of cases, the property tax is based on wherever the place is located, on the size of the property, on the details of the property, but also on the cadastral value, on the value from the town hall. Normally, for a normal property of 100,000, 200,000, more or less, it is 400, 500, 600 euros per year.
Right. So if you want, I don't know the equivalent in America, but if you're watching from the United Kingdom, it's a lot cheaper. You save a lot of money when you compare it to council tax in the United Kingdom. The other question, I suppose, Anna, just following on from that, and I think everyone will be shouting or typing, is do I have to have the property bought before I get my visa, or do I apply for the visa then buy the property, or which way around is it, Anna?
Well, this is how you prefer. In this case, it's independent. For the visa, in majority of the cases, we just need the address. For example, the consulates in the United Kingdom do not ask us to prove the address, so we can use just an address, for example, of your friend, where you will stay temporarily when you came. But in United States, consulates require at least 3 months of a rental agreement or booking to know where you will stay in Spain for the first 3 months. But they do not allow you to buy a property in this case.
Right. So obviously, again, we don't make the rules, but different consulates interpret the rules differently. And because Anna and Ivan do this all day, every day, nothing else, they'll be able to tell you about the different distinctions. So it depends on where you're moving from. Even though it's a non-lucrative visa, United Kingdom, for example, United States, it's different. So there you are. Now, Anna, the other thing we just mentioned briefly about if you're an EU citizen and you move to retire, we say retire because this is the retirement webinar. But if you're an EU citizen, you don't have to say, I am retiring. You can do what you want in Spain. You can work, retire, whatever you want. But if you're coming on the non-lucrative visa, i.e. you don't have an EU passport, you're not married to a Spanish citizen, you're not a Spanish citizen or in a civil partnership, then when you come, you can't work. So, Anna, what types of savings, passive income? Well, tell us what passive income is first, because that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, for example, as a passive income, we can use the pensions, we can use the income from the renting of your property, and for example, dividends or the income from your investments. But in this case, not all consulates will accept it. So pension, rentals, let's say anything that you receive without working activity, like dividends, for example,
Right.
you own in a company.
Right. So say for example, I own a business and I employ a manager, and I think that's it, I'm done. I'm going to employ a manager. I'm going to go and live in Spain. Is that all right?
Yes, and in this case, you need to prove to the consulate that you are not working and that you will not take any role in this business and all your income is passive. So, for example, as a director, you was employed, so P45, then the letter from the accountant, the letter from the company, and all type of confirmations that there you only receive dividends and will receive dividends.
Yeah. Anna used the word P45. So for American people, a P45 is a government thing that says that you've left your employment. It's like an official form. So yeah. So basically, if you own your own company and you employ a manager and you leave, and they phone you up and they ask you something, you could say, "I am not allowed to even tell you anything. Leave me alone." Right. So say for example, I had a pension of 15,000 euros a year, but I had 15,000 savings in the bank. Can I add them together and make 30?
Well, in this case, the consulate will see you very, very strict. At the beginning, yes, but I will not recommend you. Why? Because in this case, you do not complete not with one and not with another one. Then jointly, yes, but let's say they could say that you are in your savings and with your pension, you are not completing it.
Right. Okay.
So at least that one of these requirements you completing to make it easier, or passive income and some savings, or savings and some passive income.
Right. Okay. Now, how long is the non-lucrative visa for?
Initially it's for 1 year, and after that's why the tricky thing came, that you have to renew it for 2, where you have to demonstrate that you have enough financial means for the following years.
Right. Okay. So when you renew it, how long do you get?
2 years.
Right. And when you now, this is where everybody in the Move to Spain Facebook group, and I get comments on the Move to Spain podcast. Now, this is where there's a bit of a misunderstanding. When you renew for year 2 and year 3, do you need double, or can you, if it's income, is it just what happens?
Well, in that case, let's see. The immigration just say that you need to demonstrate that you have enough financial means for these 2 years. From where we're going to tell you that it's for 2 years, and you have to have it for 2 years, and it's the ideal situation. But if you can demonstrate that you have passive income, this will be your salvation, because you show that I don't have savings, but monthly I receive requested amount.
Yeah.
Then this you pass.
Yeah. So savings you would need to prove for the 2 year period, but passive income you would only need to show that you have enough income as if you were just applying for the 1 year. And it's the same for year 4 and 5. And when you get to year 5, happy days, because in year 5 you apply for permanent residency. If that's granted, then you're done with all the visa stuff. And if just if anyone falls into this category, if you live in a former, I don't want to say colony, possession, I don't know what the technical friendly term is, but say you've got a Colombian passport or a Chilean passport or something like that, Peruvian, then you only have to do 2 years on the non-lucrative visa. And then after 2 years, you can apply for Spanish citizenship. So you're in a bit of a different, little different category there regarding, renewals and things like that. But Belen's not the tax lawyer, so I don't know if would she know the answer to this. But Belen,
No, not it's not my field at all. I wish I was a tax advisor, but I think it would be too much. No, so well, just for this person to know, in Spain we have a system in which you start paying 0 if you have less than 20K, and you start a system in which you pay more. The more you have, the more you pay. But that's a question to our tax advisor.
Yeah, right. So Stevie G, that's a cool name. So in short, you need funds for about 5 years. Yeah, you do, but it's broken up into year 1, year 2 and 3, and year 4 and 5. Four and 5 isn't double of 2 and 3. 4 and 5 is exactly the same as year 2 and 3. So, for example, say I had savings, then the savings would be, if I was doing savings for year 2 and 3, I'd need about 60,000 euros. But I wouldn't need 120,000 for 4 and 5. It would be about 60,000 for 4 and 5 as well. But I can't say for sure, because the Spanish government changed the amounts that you need. So in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, when Anna talked about 30,000, that could change. Now, yeah, and that's basically it. So, but then if we go back to the property, we've talked about the fact, if people are just joining, we've talked about the fact that depending on where you live in Spain, the amount that you pay extra on top of the property purchase price depends on which area of Spain you want to live in. And we do have a top tip. If you're buying on the Costa Blanca, get in touch with Belen, get in touch with your independent lawyer, make sure that it's written in the contract that you're completing after a certain date in June, because you could save 1%. It's only 1%, but it's, I'm from Yorkshire, so money's money, So just remember that. So the other thing, Belen, is, let's give an example. I go to Alicante. I've seen my, apartment on the beach, and the agent has promised me it's constructed legally. The community of owners is happy. Nobody's in debt. And the estate agent says, right, give me the deposit money. What should I do at that point?
Call us.
Yeah.
So the same moment that the offer is accepted, the agent will start sending you 10 messages by minute saying, pay the deposit. I have many people interested in the property. I'm going to sell the property tonight. If you don't pay the deposit, well, it is important that you don't do it. Because depending on where the property is located, depending on what you intend to do with the property, in the last podcast we spoke about, it is not the same if you want the property to live on it, if you want the property to rent it out on holidays, if you want the property to use it as your second home. The due diligence changes totally. So it is important to know the use that you intend to make on the property and that you do not sign or pay anything, because depending on the use that you intend to make, depending on where the property is located, etc., the documents that we are going to request from the seller are different.
Yeah. And everybody on the Move to Spain Facebook group, I mean, all 2 million views a month, they know I'm an open book. I was in the process of buying a property myself with Belen advising me. Now I'm not. And it didn't go well. But luckily, I've got Belen on my side, and that's going to be the best live stream ever. It's going to be the best podcast ever. So basically, yeah, I'll let you know what happens, people. But yeah, so basically, the agent's going to say to you, "Give me pay me the deposit, pay me the deposit." When they call you and they say, "Look, my offer's been accepted," and the property, say it's 100,000. You can still get places, I think, on the Costa Blanca for 100,000. So say it's 100,000, and the agent says, "Give me the money," and you say, "No, I know to speak to Belen." And what document is it? How much do they have to pay at that stage?
Normally, it is from 3 up to 7,000-8,000 euros. Depends a lot on the property price. I mean, if you're talking about a property of 100,000, well,
Yeah,
maybe
let's say 100. Let's keep the math simple tonight because my head hurts.
Maybe it is 3, 4, 5K. That's the amount that should be paid as deposit.
Right. And is there a contract to sign? Who writes the contract?
Yeah, so the first thing that the agent will send you is a reservation contract. They may say that it is only to take the property off the market, so you can go ahead and sign it. But it is important that since that first moment we state all the conditions of the purchase, so we don't have to negotiate that later, because what happens with the 3K if we don't agree on the content of the purchase contract? So the first initial contract is the reservation contract, in which you pay a deposit to take the property off the market. Then, more or less around 2 weeks after that, we sign the private purchase contract, the arras contract, as we call it in Spanish.
Right. So when I pay, say for example, I pay my 3,000 euros, and I've got my online banking. I've checked all the numbers. I'm really cautious. I always send a euro first just to make sure that it's going, because I don't want to type in the wrong number. But say, for example, so I've got all this. Who keeps that money? How does that work?
Unfortunately, I was speaking with a client today about that. Unfortunately, the law doesn't say anything, which is a shame because in the end, it is just a matter of what you agree with the seller. It is true that it's the lowest percentage, but we still find sellers that are reluctant to receiving the 10%, for the 10% to be held by a lawyer or the agency. The ideal thing is for a professional to hold it until completion. But the truth is that there's a percentage, not very high, but it exists, of people that don't want the 10% to be held by a professional. This is a risk. I mean, just the other day, a seller of a client died. So what now? If the agency didn't have the deposit, we would have to wait for the heirs to sign the inheritance deed, to complete the paperwork, to agree, of course, on the content of the purchase deed. If the seller didn't have a will, that would have been months. So it is important for the 10% to be held by a third party. The seller dying is only one of the several reasons why your deposit should be safe.
Yeah. So there's nothing in. So when I see my property, I want to buy it. I go to Belen. Belen drafts the contract. I pay the money on the reservation contract. There's nothing in law as to who would hold that money. So I guess it could be a lot of people. It could be Belen. It could be the seller's lawyer. It could be the estate agent, or it could be the seller themselves. It's whatever Belen can negotiate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We always try, of course, to get the agent or the lawyer to hold it until completion. But if the situation comes that the seller will only accept to hold the deposit himself or herself, in that case, I'm afraid that if the client wants that property, it is a matter of either accepting or looking for another property.
Yeah. Now, that's not a problem if everything goes right. Now, we haven't got time today to discuss my problems, but we will, because I'm an open book. But what sort of, in your professional experience, and you've done thousands of these, in your professional experience, how many purchases collapse because of like bad paperwork or something like that?
Fortunately for my mental health, only, I don't know, a 1%, a 2%.
Oh, brilliant. So I'm in that one. Brilliant. Just my luck, isn't it?
Yeah, you are within that 1%. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a small risk because lawyers, we assume the worst, we assume that things are going to go bad. And what we are thinking when we're doing these contracts is we are thinking we want to be able to get your money back as easily as possible without court cases and things like that. So, yeah, so that's the reservation contract. And as Anna said, this is about retiring to Spain. As Anna said, depending on which consulate you apply to, then you don't necessarily need to have bought the property, but it depends on the consulate. The other question, Anna's the visa lawyer. So if you need a non-lucrative visa or not, we've been through that earlier on. But Anna, if I'm applying for the non-lucrative visa, say for example I'm Canadian and I'm applying for the non-lucrative visa, where do I apply from? Can I move to Spain and then apply for it, or what happens? What do I need to do?
Well, unfortunately not. You have to go to the Spanish consulate and ask. First of all, you need to get the appointment, which is for example, at the consulate of Toronto. At the moment, is a complicated thing ever.
I picked the wrong example. I had to pick Canada, didn't I? I don't. Yeah, Anna knows all the different consulates. Okay.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, we can get appointments at all the consulates. So I'm Canadian. I can't move to Spain and then go, you know what? I'm living in Valencia. I'm going to live here. No, I have to go back to the country that I'm resident in and apply for the visa there. So that would apply if I'm South African, I'm from Mauritius or whatever. I would have to go back and apply there. So yeah, that was it. And we discussed the income requirements, and we discussed health insurance. If you've got the S1 for British pensioners, then that's really good. If you're American, you're going to save an absolute fortune. We work with health insurance people. Ariete is in the Move to Spain Facebook group. She's got health insurance policies that are really great. But in year 2, you can actually pay and join the Spanish system, which is really great because they accept everybody. You can be in the last bed in the hospital, as we say. Right. So if I just go back to Belen on the property purchase, I've seen the property I like. We've done the reservation contract. You've drafted it for me and said, look, this is in your interests. Thing is, the estate agent is holding the deposit. It's a registered agent. So and I say, okay, I'll go with that. What's the next stage?
Next stage is for you to sign the private purchase contract, the ARRAS contract for the 10% payment.
Yeah. I mean, Ms. Jellyfish. Yes, it's me, John Towell. Yeah. So the second stage is the ARRAS contract.
Yes. In the ARRAS contract, we will state all the conditions of the purchase, all the documents that have to be provided. And when we sign that contract, we normally have a time of around 1 month, more or less, until completion. So we get the chance to receive these documents from the seller and to finish the due diligence. Once we are ready and we have checked all of the documents, we will arrange an appointment for completion at the notary.
Right. Okay. So the ARRAS contract. Now, what the thing about the ARRAS contract? What people think is it's the law that if the seller pulls out, I get double my deposit back.
Yeah. So what the law says is that if the buyer pulls out, the buyer will lose the deposit, the 10%. If the seller pulls out, then the seller will have to pay double of the deposit. That's what the law says. Now, as always, we have to interpret what's pull out. I mean, pull out literally is I don't want to continue with this. In that case, the seller would have to pay double. But for example, what happens if one of the documents provided by the seller is not exactly good? So for example, the town hall says there's an infraction, but that can be fixed. Well, in that case, the seller wouldn't be responsible of paying double. This is something that you have to see case by case. But yeah, what the law says is the seller pulls out, pays double, the buyer pulls out, loses the deposit.
Right. So if we take the example I've said that hopefully we can find something on the Costa Blanca for 100,000. I've seen the property. I've paid my deposit of 3,000. What do I pay with the ARAS contract? How much do I pay then?
Normally it is the 10%, but again, we don't have a law for this. This is the thing. Property purchases, the law is very old and it almost said anything. So yeah, it is normally at 10%, but if you agree any other thing with the seller, that's fine.
Right. Okay. So there's nothing actually in the law. So at this stage, I'm 13,000. The agent's got 13,000 of my money.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So it would be 10K. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So we sign the ARAS contract, and then you do some more legal work. I'm being very vague here, aren't I? I don't know the process exactly.
Yeah. So in the purchase contract, I always prefer to do it myself, so that way I can state all of the things that have to be provided before completion. So it is a way when you state the documents that have to be provided before completion, it is because you have already made a pre-due diligence on the property based on the property, but also on the client's needs. So that way you know exactly what needs to be provided before completion, so you can check it.
Right. This is a webinar about retiring to Spain, and I don't want to confuse and add to what's a complicated process, but what people need to be aware of is if you want to rent your property out for holidays, I don't mean long term, I don't mean like September to April or indefinitely, but if you want to rent your property out on Airbnb, I know this is about retirement, but you might change your mind. You might move back to Canada or wherever, South Africa. Speak to Glenn about the tourist license. It's very important that you speak to Glenn about the tourist license, because you need to know if your property can get a tourist license before you buy it. Is that right, Glenn?
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that at the moment, with the law in hand, the current law, at least until it is erased, but at the moment with the law in hand, the thing is that if you want to obtain a tourist license, you need to obtain the authorization from the community of owners, unless, and this is the good thing, the property already has a tourist license.
Right.
In that case, in principle, and this is we are probably going to speak in a podcast about this because it is a little bit complex. If the property already has a license, in principle, you can take it with you, change the name and take it. But the tricky thing is that many people years ago, when obtaining tourist licenses was easier, they obtained tourist licenses without having the first occupation license or without fulfilling the legal documents, because by then the authorities didn't check that things were done correctly. So the thing is that if you want to buy a property and want to take the tourist license and transfer it into your name, we have to check very carefully that the documents submitted when the seller obtained the tourist license or the previous seller were correct.
Yeah. So just because you're retiring, and this webinar is all about retiring in Spain, life is going to go on indefinitely in Spain. But, in the back of your mind, you might think, well, I might go back to England. I might rent it out. If that is even in the back of your mind, speak to Belen about the whole tourist license thing before you sign or pay anything. So we have a question, Ms. Jellyfish. So I don't have to pay 10% in a month of reserving the property. Okay, so I think we touched on that briefly. So if we just go back to the start, Belen, I make the offer and it's accepted. I come to you and this is 100,000, and I pay the money under the reservation contract. What sort of time period is it for the reservation contract?
Well, whenever you agree. Again, the law doesn't say anything. So when you sign the reservation contract, it is possible for anyone buying a property in Spain to tell the agent or whoever is selling it since the beginning, I don't want to sign the private purchase contract until 1 month, 2 months after the signature of the reservation contract. And
Right.
with the 10% deposit that Ms. Jellyfish is saying, well, you can also tell the person who is selling it, I'm not going to pay 10%. I just want to pay, I don't know, 10K, 9K, whatever,
Yeah.
as Arras. If they accept, go ahead.
Yeah. And the Arras contract, there's no set period of time from the reservation contract to the Arras contract. Am I right?
Sorry?
When in the law, there isn't anything in the Spanish law that says there are so many days from the
No.
reservation. Yeah. So
No.
yeah, Miss Jellyfish. Yeah, you go. It's all about speaking to Belen and getting the time frames that you want. Yeah. So Abdenair Mazaf, long time watcher. Yeah, just a couple of people. Chronically Eileen 1224. Yeah. Well, yeah, we do have the Road to Spain Facebook group. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. So Belen. So we've got the reservation contract. We've got the Aris contract. Before everything started, they've come to you. They've talked to you about the tourist license, the things like that. Then the next thing is, assuming all is well and you're not in the 1% like me. I'm not making this up, people. This really happened to me. We'll do it on another live stream. So everything's good, and you get to the notary. Belen's there at the notary with you. What happens at the notary? I mean, how do you pay? How do we pay you the rest of the money? How does that happen?
So when you complete the purchase, you pay the rest of the price. If you have paid a 10% in the private purchase contract, well, then you will pay the rest, the other 90. And that same day, you get the keys. You will sign a deed in which it is stated who pays what, who the seller is, the charges of the property, etc. Both the seller and the buyer sign the deed. That same day, the buyer gets the key, and that's it.
Right. Now, say, for example, I mean, there's taxes and things on top, but let's say it's 100,000 and I'm sending the 90,000. I mean, where do I send the 90,000?
We always send our clients a breakdown around 2 weeks before the appointment at the notary for completion. And normally clients send us the whole amount, so property price, notary, land registry, and transmission tax, and we pay all this on the client's behalf.
Yeah. Now, if you're not sure about that and you think, Belen's just one of these lawyers, have a listen to episode 5 of the Move to Spain podcast. That is very, very enlightening because we spoke to a Spanish notary. It's all in English, and he tells you how it is. And you'll be surprised because the best way to do it, and you'll be surprised, is you send the money to our client account or your independent lawyer's client account. They then take a banker's draft. Imagine that, a banker's draft. They take that to the notary, and if everything is right at the notary, all the paperwork's right, then the banker's draft is handed over. Why? Because if it's wrong and the money's already been sent, remember what I said before? We always assume the worst. If it's wrong, you don't then have to get the money back. You just say, no, you're not having the banker's draft, and
exactly.
Off we go.
You just go back with the draft. Yeah.
That's it. We do the banker's draft. It's not a problem. Sorry, I'm bashing the microphone. We do the banker's draft. It's not a problem. The money goes into our client account. We have a client account. That's not an issue. Now, one of the things people do is some people use these electronic transfer things like Wise and everything like that. That's fine. It does work. There's no problem. But make sure that you can't ring Wise up at the notary and say, "Where's my electronic transfer?" when everybody's waiting. Sometimes it is better to get a currency broker. We have Vinara from Lumen Pay, but you can use Wise if you want. But yeah, that's another thing. So you go to the notary. Belen's got the magic banker's draft. She hasn't been robbed on the way to the notary. Now, Spain's very safe. And she hands over the money because all the paperwork's right, everything's signed. But that isn't the end of the purchase. You get the keys and you can live in the apartment or the house, but that's not the end of it, is it?
So the last step, well, after that, right after the notary appointment, we start with the changes of the supplies, water, electricity, etc. And the last step is for the purchase to be registered into your name, which might take around 2 months in the land registry. But since day 1, you are the official owner. It is just a formal step.
Right. It's not. So when you sign the notary, everybody thinks, yeah, that's my house now. Well, yeah, you're nearly there. You're nearly done.
One
You can
question
live
that
in.
we have been asked by Double G is, in order to get a tourist license for your property, do you also need approval from the condo? Yes, unless the property already has a tourist license in place and that tourist license has been obtained according to the law applied in that date. Unless that is the situation, if you are going to apply from zero, yes, you need the authorization from the condo, unfortunately.
Yeah, and people, community owners can do what they want. They can decide we're not going to have any tourist rentals here, and they can make that democratic decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's their condo, well, part of their condo, community of owners, whatever you want to call it, and yeah, they can do that. So Anna, yeah, have we covered everything about the non-lucrative visa, Anna? Because this is the visa that you might need if you retire to Spain, depending on which country you're from. Have we covered everything on the non-lucrative visa? I think.
Well, there is a lot of the things that if you let me speak, I will speak all day about it.
Yeah.
Each visa is a world. So
Oh,
let's see.
actually, I do have a simple one, right? A lot of people retire as a couple, civil partner, what significant other. If you're civil partnership or married, then if you have the wife or the partner, whether you want you're same sex or whatever, do you need double or how does that work?
No, you need less. Let's see. It's the majority of the cases much more beneficial for you to move with your as a family unit and not applying separately. Why? Because in this case, the consulate will see you as the family. So one of you will have to demonstrate that have enough financial means for both or for the whole family. For example, we need, let's say, a passive income. Main applicant, it is a 2,400 euros monthly, and for additional family member, only 600. So in this case, let's say much less. And you also can show joint bank account, for example, joint savings.
Yeah. You have
So
to prove that you're a
much easier in this case.
yeah. And what about children? I mean, we said before that you can retire to Spain at any age. So some people might be fortunate enough to have they've been left some money, or they're just rich, or they've got dividends, or they've got a property portfolio. What about the children? How does that work? If I've got children, how does that work?
Well, in this case, we have to understand that not all ages are allowed to move to Spain. Until 18 years old, your baby is still a baby, let's say.
Yeah.
So
19, you're on. So how does it work there? Yeah, so up to 18, you can say, well, you are they're children, and instead of 30,000 a year, it's about you have to show another 7 for them, another 7 for your spouse. So what happens when the children are 19? Is that it? Is that the end?
Well, in that case, we have to see the separate roads, because in this case, they are already independent. And only one way, let's say, if there is some medical disability that we can demonstrate to the consul that they cannot maintain themselves by themselves, let's say. And in this case, yes, it could be accepted. But 18, we can see the possibility of student standing, for example.
Okay, so
Or
you can
maybe
be a
you have a
student.
very successful child, and he by himself at 18 already owning $1 million. Let's say in this case, you all can go with your non-lucrative. But there are much more possibilities for the younger people. For example, if digital nomad studying, could be covered.
Yeah, there's different. I mean, up to 18, you can be included. Over 18, you'd have to show that either A, you're a student, or B, you've got some kind of like medical problem, disability, and as a result of this disability, you rely on your parents. But if you're, say, for example, an older person, you have your own business, you work online, or you want to study in Spain, then you can have your own separate visa. But this is out of the remit of the Retire to Spain webinar. And obviously, they would need health insurance as well, at least for the first year, but it'll be very cheap because of their age. And that's it. Oh, this is another question, Anna. Like, okay, yeah, I'm convinced by what you're saying. Let's say America instead of Canada. I'm thinking, right, okay, I want to do this, and if I start today, and I know it's not a precise science. Say I started today in Malaga, what through you? How long? How long would it take? I go to the LA consulate tomorrow. How long does the process take to get me into Spain?
Well, let's see. We need around 2 months to prepare the documents, mostly because of the FBI record check in this case, because sometimes delays and the apostille. And then the appointment at the consulate. I mean,
Right.
usually it's a little bit more complicated in the summertime, but during the year there is no complications. And afterwards, there is around 2-3 months. Maximum is timing is 3 months when the consulate have to provide you the answer for
Right.
the visa, and then you came already, and we will continue with the town hall registration and the fingerprinting appointment. So until you have your residency card, I will be with you. So
Right.
resolving the process.
Right.
And John, here's the question from Roxana Perez. And wasn't there a rule of 26 years? Yes, the 26 years old child it's included at the family member of the Spaniards. The law accept that you are still dependent if you are less than 26 years old, but it's only for this type of residency.
Okay.
Non-lucrative is until 18.
Right. Yeah. So there's a bit of a difference, Roxana, between that and what this is about. The retirement to Spain one, and some people need the non-lucrative visa. Some people don't. The other. So Anna, what would you say is the more? I mean, it's not the same in every case, but what's the most normal time frame from starting to get into Spain with your visa?
Let's say around, if we go in for the maximums, until let's say it's 5 months. 2 months to prepare and 3 months to wait until the consulate.
So there you go. You could be here in 5 months. There you go.
But of course, afterwards it can be faster. Let's see. Imagine that the FBI record came in 1 week, and in 3 days you have your apostille. We make the translations in 5 days. And then the consul would say that yes, everything perfect in only 2 months. So then it's depending on the consulate.
It's hard to say 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So yeah, be quick. Get all your moving sorted, because it could be quicker than you think.
Yes.
So the other thing, Belen, that we have to talk about, and Belen, we couldn't have every lawyer here because we'd be here all night. But one of the things, Belen, is, and I can approach this from an English point of view. I keep banging the microphone. If, say, for example, I'm 56. Okay, I'm 56, and I sell my house in England, and I make a huge profit in England. Now, in England, I don't pay tax on any of that profit because we don't have a tax on the sale of a primary residence where we habitually reside. Right. Now, Belen, we have to explain this carefully, but there is a possibility, isn't there, that I can go to Spain, live in Spain. It doesn't matter if I buy a house or not. Live in Spain, and I could have to pay tax on that capital gain. There's a possibility, isn't there?
Exactly. So it is important that within the same year that you sell your property, you do not spend in Spain more than 183 days. Because let's say that I sell my property today, the 30th of April, and tomorrow I move to Spain, 1st of May. Well, in that case, I will be in Spain this year, 2026, more than 183 days, which means that next year, when the time comes to pay the taxes for 2025, which is the year that I have sold my property in the UK, I have been a Spanish tax resident. So I will have to pay capital gains tax. So it is very important that you do not spend more than 183 days in the year that you sell your property.
Right. That's very important. So do not fall into the capital gains tax trap. There are some exemptions if you're over 65, reinvestment, things like that, but be very, very careful and take advice. And it's a good idea to speak to us a good while before, because you don't want to fall into the tax. But as Belen said, I could naively walk into this. I haven't took legal advice. I bought a property. I moved to Spain tomorrow. And I remember the Move to Spain Facebook group, and I'm listening to the podcast. I think, oh shit. Then don't worry. All you have to do is leave Spain. Obviously, get some proof. That would be great. But leave Spain. And then you don't do the 183 days. So it's not like you can't be saved, you know. So one of the things, if you're making a note of all the things and you're writing down non-lucrative visa, income, health insurance, don't give the agent any money before I speak to Beled. The other thing you need to write down is capital gains tax trap. That's one of the things that you should be writing down as well. And another thing, and it's outside the scope of this, is but a Spanish will. If you've got assets in Spain, get a Spanish will. Listen to episode 100 of the Move to Spain podcast, where we've got the big boss Marisa talking about Spanish wills. But basically, yes, the guy in the bar can print off something off the internet and go, yeah, this is a valid Spanish will. You can sign it, take it to the notary in person. It's the only thing you have to do in person. Take it to the notary, sign it. That is a valid will. But, and I know I've got a horse in the race because I work for a law firm here, but your independent Spanish lawyer, i.e. us, can tell you which is the best tax jurisdiction and legal jurisdiction for you, because it may be that the English legal system or the French legal system or the Canadian legal system is better for you in your will than the Spanish system. And that's not anything that the notary studies. The notary is very intelligent, very learned people, but they don't study the tax regimes of all the other places in the world. And it's much better to have a Spanish will. It's cheaper, probate's quicker. But we won't talk too much about Spanish wills. Listen to episode 100 of the Move to Spain podcast. So yeah, I think we've covered it. Have we covered it all?
Just to answer to Miss Jellyfish, the fact that you buy a property in Spain is only one of the criteria that the tax office could use to consider you a tax resident. So the golden rule is the 183 days. But if you have family here, if your children go to school here, if your husband has his business here, or your wife, well, this is one of the criteria that the tax office might use. But the fact that you buy a property in Spain, no, of course not, because you can buy a property as a non-resident. I mean, immigration and tax. So the fact that you buy a property doesn't mean that the tax office is going to consider you a tax resident. Not at all. That would be a complete disaster.
Yeah. A lot of people think it's just 183 days. It's not that. It's also where the family is, where your investments are, businesses, things like that. So yeah, Anna, this is actually, we forgot about this one. You mentioned it very briefly when you're talking about the criteria for the non-lucrative visa. Criminal records. So Joel, I had a minor conviction 35 years ago for public do-wood. I'm not sure what offence a public do-wood is, but anyway, how does the criminal convictions work? Because you mentioned something about criminal convictions when you're talking about the visa.
Exactly. In this case, we have to be careful. We have to see what exactly appears in your criminal records. For example, FBI records always will show what it was and what it is. In UK, you have possibility to escape it if it say that there is no life trace. So you're not obliged to show the second page of your criminal records. In any case, the consulate, but especially the National Police Station Immigration Office, will study your case and will study in the form that could be potential danger to the public order. What was this? What was the penalty? What you have done? So in this case, ideally, prepared better. Let's say, yes, you have possibility if it was a minor, if it was considered as a minor, there was a fine, for example. Explain it, make a sworn statement about this explication, and then provide proof depending on what you have done and what penalty it was, of course.
Yeah, because I think from another time I was talking to you on the podcast, I think it was the Move to Spain podcast, everyone, listen to that, no adverts. I was talking to Anna, and you can put a letter, can't you, that explains the conviction.
Yes, let's say it will not guarantee the 100% of success, but at least you admit it and explain to the authorities what it was, so it will be easier for them to understand your case.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So now have we dealt with all? I think we've dealt with all the main points now. But if anybody wants to ask a question, so we've dealt with the reservation contract, we've dealt with the RS contract. We've dealt with making sure that you can get a tourist license if you want to rent it out. We've dealt with currency transfers. Don't leave it till the last minute. We've dealt with client accounts, the notary. We've dealt with a non-lucrative visa if you need one or not. The income, passive income, savings. In certain circumstances, it's double for 2 and 3. Yeah, I suppose the criminal record check, dependents, healthcare. The only thing, Anna, is okay. I do all this on a non-lucrative visa. I keep renewing it when you tell me I need to renew it. What happens after year 5?
You have a possibility to apply for the long-term residency, which will be already the permanent one. And in this case, there are specific requirements that you have to complete. Of course, no, you can't be out of Spain for more than 10 months in 5 years. There's also exceptions for example, if you were in a hospital and there is a urgency that you couldn't return to Spain, for example. But there you applying for 5 years, showing the whole your history in Spain, that you were effectively residing in Spain, not just having the residency.
Yeah.
And it will be 5 years, and there you already not, let's say, it's not forbidden for you to work. You can open the business. You can.
Yeah, after 5 years, you can just change your mind. You could say,
exactly.
I've had it with sitting in the sun, drinking myself to death, or I want to open a business. After 5 years, you're a permanent resident, and you can do that. And then, just for completeness, after 10 years, if you want, you can apply for a Spanish citizenship. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, but there is a test that you have to pass.
There's a
but
test,
they're easy. Let's say after 10 years, you can do it.
I think Ivan, the other visa lawyer, is writing a book about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Ivan, big plug for Ivan's book. He's writing a book about the Spanish citizenship test. So there's you have to know about Spanish culture, and obviously you've got to speak Spanish. And I think really, just to finish this off, when you're thinking, well, shall I be a Spanish citizen or not? I think the advantage is, obviously you have a Spanish passport, but the advantage is you get I won't use the word, I won't say free, but free in inverted commas, healthcare, don't you, if you're a Spanish citizen?
Well, there you have, let's say, it's a tricky question. You have to, after this first year, even you can apply for the healthcare, but it's not free. You have to pay to the Social Security.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, you might not fancy doing the Spanish culture exam, the Spanish language exam, and you don't have to give up your passport. It's that doesn't happen. We wrote about it on we have a blog on the website, justlawsolicitors.com. If you search on Google Just Law Solicitors dual nationality, it'll come up and you can read about that. So Belen, I think we've done it all. Have we done it all?
Yeah, let's do it for today. Next time we can speak more about anything you want.
Yeah, we'll have the how to start a business in Spain. We'll do that one next week, and we can talk about again buying a property. We can talk about commercial leases, lots of interesting stuff. But yeah, and if you want to speak to Anna, you want to make an appointment with Anna or Ivan, they're just the same. You can go on the justlawsolicitors.com website, and there'll be a link, so you can just book an appointment direct. You don't have to go backwards and forwards. And Belen, just send her a WhatsApp. It's all on the thing, justlawsolicitors.com website. Okay, so are you dealing with the digital nomad visa? No, we're just talking about the non-lucrative visa today. But Anna does do all sorts of visas. But yeah, we'll do a separate one on the digital nomad visa. Don't worry, and we'll definitely had an episode on the digital nomad visa on the Move to Spain podcast. And there's got to be something on the justlawsolicitors.com blog. There's hundreds of articles on there. Okay, well, thanks everybody, and thanks for watching. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for watching. Bye.
Yeah, next time you're gonna have to look at Belen for the whole hour, not me.
Yeah. So thank you, John. Speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Okay, bye. Thanks everybody. Bye.